Hey everyone, my name is David and I'm going to be giving the presentation today. I have a degree in marine biology from Texas A&M University, and although I'm in medical school right now, marine biology has always been one of the things that I've thought was really interesting, especially when I was a kid living in Hawaii. Got to see the coral reefs and all the fish there. It's definitely a really cool field. So for today's presentation, what I'm gonna hopefully do is first get you excited about marine biology. Then we'll talk a little bit about the history of marine biology, and then we'll get into some of the job prospects and some of the details about what you'd exactly be doing as a marine biologist, and like how much money you'd be making and that sort of thing. So on this first slide here, I just picked out some different pictures of some cool creatures that live under the sea. So this one I think is in particular is really cool. It has a see-through skull, so you can actually see its brain and all the other stuff in here. And some of you might think it's a little bit gross, but I think it's really cool. And you wouldn't have to study this if you didn't want to, but I think it's an example of the variety of things that live under the ocean and how different they are than the things that live above the ocean. That's one of the really cool things about marine biology, is just how unique the animals that you're going to be studying are. So onto this slide. Again, this slide is to get you excited about marine biology a little bit. I highly recommend watching The Blue Planet 2 whenever you get a chance. This year is a trailer for it, and we can't play it because of copyright issues, but this is the link if you ever want to check it out in your spare time. I highly recommend watching it. It's only about 5 minutes long. Or you can also go ahead and check out Planet Earth is another really cool documentary. It's won a ton of awards. It's really good. If you might have seen it already, but they have a few episodes about the ocean also. So I can't play it, but we're gonna go ahead and maybe just skim through and check out some of the pictures. So there's some fish schools there, kind of swimming around. Some whales. We've got some turtles, of course. Turtles are always really cool. They hatch out, and then I'm not sure if that's what this is a picture of, but when they hatch out, they rush into the ocean as fast as they can as soon as they hatch out of their eggs and try to avoid all the predators. It's really cool to watch. And of course some walruses down there in the Arctic, and some starfish, some penguins it looks like, some more fish. This looks like a deep sea, some sort of deep sea animal. Got some dolphins, of course. Those are some of the smartest animals on the planet, of course. I think they're even smarter than dogs. So if we lived in the ocean, we might have dolphins for pets instead of dogs. Some more fish with the weird teeth there. Yeah, so like I said, check that out when you can. But moving on to some cool facts about the ocean. The ocean covers about 70% of the Earth's surface, which many of you probably already knew that. But what you might not have known is that over half of the Earth's oxygen is produced in the oceans. And some scientists estimate that up to 80% of the Earth's oxygen is produced in the oceans. And that might be a little bit surprising, because the rainforest, it seems like they get all of the credit for making oxygen. The Amazon is nicknamed the lungs of the Earth. But really where it's at is in the oceans, because of all of the algae and other microscopic organisms that live near the surface of the ocean. They soak up the sunlight, just like plants, really. They soak up the sunlight and release oxygen. Now, another cool fact is that scientists estimate that there are over 1 million species living in the ocean. And of course, it's really impossible to estimate exactly how many species are living in the ocean. But the 1 million number is just to show you that it's a lot. And some scientists say that there are more species in the ocean than there are on land. And I definitely believe that, because just of how big the ocean is. And with it being so big, though, you might not expect this, because it seems like go to the ocean a lot. People hang out around the ocean. Ships obviously sail all around. So it might surprise you to learn that only 5% of the oceans have been explored. And of course, that's because of just how big they are and how deep they are. Really is the problem with exploring the bottom of the ocean, because in some places the ocean is miles deep. and so that's why that we haven't explored very much, and that's why it's one of the really one of the final frontiers. Space is probably the other final frontier, but apart from space, there's really nowhere on Earth that we really haven't explored that much, and the ocean is one of those places. So if you like exploring, the ocean is definitely for you. And now another thing, this is something that we learned when I was in college. Most scientists agree that life on Earth started in the oceans, and now most of you knew that. This is sort of how it works. I'm not going to go too into the details, but there's these vents underwater here, and it's kind of complicated, but they're shooting out gases. I'm not sure if this is a sulfur vent or some other sort of gas vent, but scientists think that these vents created a really good place, a really good environment for bacteria to start to grow and evolve into all the different animals that we see today. But marine biology isn't just about the oceans, though. You can definitely do work on any type of animal that lives in any type of water. So that includes lakes and rivers and streams and things like that too. And so this is a YouTube channel that my friend has. It's about fishing, and he works for the government, doing conservation work, kind of in eastern United States. And so he makes these videos as a hobby. So if you're ever interested in some fishing videos, you can look up any YouTube channel, but this is one that's definitely pretty cool. Okay, so we're going to get onto the history of marine biology a little bit. And so people have been interested in marine biology for a long time. That's because fish have always been a very important food source for people. And so studying fish and how they live and everything has always been really important. And so surprisingly, I didn't know this before I started making this presentation, but Aristotle, the philosopher, the Greek philosopher, is actually credited as being the father of marine biology. And that's because he did a lot of work classifying different types of fish, different types of mollusks, like clams and stuff like that, and just writing about them and things like that. And he actually recognized that dolphins and whales and those sorts of things are mammals, even though they live underwater. So it's pretty impressive that he was able to do that back in 300 BC, around when he lived. So another guy, there a lot of time passed between Aristotle and the 19th century, but then another name you recognize is Charles Darwin. He was best well known for his study of evolution and that theory and his trip to the Galapagos Islands. But during that trip and other trips on the HMS Beagle, he discovered a lot of, he researched a lot of marine biology topics, and he discovered bioluminescent plankton, which I have a picture of right here, and a lot of other things. And then he also started the study of coral reefs, how they're made and how they survive and everything like that. So and as always, all of these links down here that I've provided, if you ever want to learn more about what's on these slides, you can always go to these links. So moving on to the modern history of biology a little bit. Here we have a few people, and I've sort of picked a sort of variety of people here to show that, as a marine biologist, you can be more of a scientist. You can do a lot like more office work, working in like a lab, that sort of thing. But then you can also get out in the field, which is something that's kind of unique with marine biology. You can really go exploring and that sort of thing. So one of the scientists that I picked out here is Rachel Carson. She did a lot of work. She had a PhD, so she was a scientist. She did a lot of work studying marine animals, but what she's best well known for is she wrote several best-selling books about life under the sea. And something that's kind of a common theme between all four of these people is that they all got the public excited about marine biology and conservation and environmental issues and protecting the ocean, that sort of thing, which is that's a big part of marine biology, is protecting the ocean and educating people about how we can protect the ocean. So this is another scientist, Sylvia Earle. She got famous because she lived underwater for a little bit in an underwater habitat, like a house, like a research station underwater. And she did a lot of work down there, and then she was the head of the National Oceanic and Atmospheric something or another, the NOAA. I forget what that stands for, but the government organization. And and really advocated for conservation. And then so this guy up here, Robert Ballard, he was more of an explorer. He did a lot of work with submarines, which you can see him sitting in right here. He was the guy who discovered the wreck of the Titanic and explored that using sonar and that sort of thing. So definitely worked like kind of more almost like an engineer type guy who developed submarines and that sort of thing. Then down here we have the last guy that I picked out, Jacques Cousteau. I don't know how to say that name because I think he's French. But this guy, he actually wasn't a scientist. He was more of an artistic person. So, but he did help invent some of the modern scuba diving equipment that we use still today. But what he's best known for is he was a filmmaker who sort of was a pioneer in underwater filmmaking. So he won an Academy Award for his movie that he made in 1950, and then during the 1970s he had a TV show on PBS. And again, with him and all of these other people, they were very into educating the public and about conservation and environmentalism. So, and if you want to read more about these people, again, there's a link for you. But of course, the most famous marine biologist, at least to people today, Steven Hillenburg, who was the creator of the show SpongeBob, which is a very, I'm sure everyone knows about SpongeBob. And so he was, I forget which degree, it wasn't specifically marine biology, it was some sort of marine science that he got a degree in, and he minored in art, and then decided that he liked animation more than lab work. But he still, used his marine biology background to make all these characters for this TV show. And the reason I included this slide is to show you that really the sky is the limit when it comes to what you can do with a marine biology degree, or really any degree. I think that what you should worry about mostly is what do you like, and then you can worry about how you're going to make money off of it later. And so this I think Steven Hillenburg is a good example of that, how he just did what he was interested in, and that sort of eventually led him to a good career. So talking more about careers and what exactly you will be doing as a marine biologist. Again, I'm just a regular biologist. I didn't take very many marine biology classes in college, but hopefully I can talk a little bit about the different types of stuff that they do. So one of the things that they do is they figure out how we're related to aquatic life and how aquatic life is related to each other and all the other animals on Earth. So the current theory is that fish kind of eventually evolved into mammals, and mammals eventually evolved into us, and kind of discovering how this works. Maybe some of the missing links in this sequence here is one thing that marine biologists are interested in. Another thing that they're interested in is how can we protect the water ecosystem, just like all those other people that we talked about. That's obviously super important because, like we talked about, the ocean produces a large amount of oxygen, and obviously if we want to keep pretty things like the coral reefs around and all these really cool animals around, if we don't want them to go extinct, we have to keep them alive and figure out how to do that. And but more practically, we fish a lot and we eat fish a lot, and so learning how to keep fish populations healthy is important for the food supply. And then some of it is just for fun. So a lot of science is driven by people who are just really curious, and they have a question, they just have to know the answer to it. And it's maybe not necessarily the most useful thing to know, but it's maybe someday people will use that knowledge to do something good. But I think part of being a scientist is just really being interested in something, really being curious, and just going after it, and just the thrill of discovery is something that's common with scientists, with any type of scientist, including marine biologists. And then something else that marine biologists do that you could do as a marine biologist, is work on this biofuel technology. And I don't know a whole lot about this, so I'm not going to speak about it too much, but this is something that the government is currently sponsoring, basically making diesel or gasoline fuel out of algae, which again, you should go to this link here and watch the video. They have a short video that kind of explains it more. But making alternative fuel sources like this is really important for the environment. And again, it's a big part of being a marine biologist. But like I keep saying. All right, so we talked a little about what you'd be doing, but where would you be working exactly? So again, I'm not an expert on where marine biologists work, but from what I do know, it's mostly colleges and universities. You could be a professor teaching and doing research. You could obviously work at an aquarium or a private research lab that's not with a college or university. You could work with an environmental organization like National Geographic or something like that, or any other environmental organization. Or you could work for the government, like we talked about with the Department of Energy, which is sponsoring that biofuel program, or with the Parks and Wildlife Department of Wild, or whatever it's called, that government organization. And I'm sure there's other places too, but these are kind of the most common ones. So just some details about the job. Average salary is about $72,000, and you may make up to about $100,000 according to this website. And so, I'm not gonna hide the ball here. You're probably not gonna be super rich as a marine biologist. So if that's what your goal is to become the next billionaire, then probably not the right place for you. But like we've been talking about, people who are in marine biology are in it because they are really passionate about it, and it's something that they really love doing. And you get to be outside a lot if that's what you want to do. You get to be in these beautiful places studying all these beautiful animals, and it's a really rewarding field from the several people that I know who do this kind of work. And also coincidentally, if you are worried about the money a little bit, this amount of money is pretty much what scientific studies have shown is about what you need to be happy, really. Anything beyond that is really sort of extra, according to these studies at least. So it probably requires a college degree. Like we talked about that Jacques Cousteau guy, he didn't have a scientific background, but these days you probably need a college degree to do work. So where can you get one? Well, in Texas, as you know, most of Texas is not close to the ocean, but we do have places like Corpus Christi and Galveston, where Texas A&M has campuses. They have really good marine biology programs that are really well respected. UT Austin also has a marine biology program, and even though it's not close to the ocean, that you can still have a good program, because with fish tanks and stuff, you can still study animals. And then of course, lots of other schools. I don't know in other states really, but I looked them up. There's a lot in California, Florida, kind of the places that you would expect. Some places on the coast, things like on the East Coast, West Coast, that sort of thing. So now that we've talked all about that, what can you do in the meantime? So some things that I might suggest would be checking out programs at your closest aquarium. I'm not sure when you're going to be watching this video, but once the pandemic kind of is over, then they'll probably start to open up again more and have more of that kind of stuff, having programs with maybe marine biologists coming giving talks, maybe going and spending the night at the aquarium, that sort of thing. So look out for that. Ask your parents about that. We've been talking about how marine biologists are into it because they like it. So I think a good way to know if it might be a right job for you is just to go fishing or hiking or anything else near a body of water. So just to see if you like being outdoors near water, see if you think that the fish are cool, see if you like catching things, like looking at the fish and the crabs and all that sort of stuff. So that's definitely a fun activity you can do to see if you're interested. And then most schools probably don't have a course specifically about marine biology, but just see if you're interested in biology or zoology. It's the study of animals in school, because that's really closely related. Marine biology, you're definitely gonna have to know a lot of biology too, because that's it's a subfield of biology. So definitely pay attention to those classes and see if you like them. And then study hard and get good grades. So Marine biology is probably not, it's probably a little bit easier than something like, advanced physics or, some sort of like aerospace engineering or something like that. But still a scientific field, and you definitely still have to have good grades and study hard. I'm not going to say it's easy either. All right, so we're coming up on the end of time here, so thank you for paying attention, and I hope you found this presentation helpful.